Hello and welcome again. We've got DevFest Collaboration 2023, and I've got a great guest today. I'm so excited to have this conversation. And just, part of the DevFest collaboration is just to remind you to check out the local DevFest. There's a few more coming up. Definitely Los Angeles is December 15th. These are amazing opportunities to just learn the latest, greatest in tech. And if you are in tech, if you're tech aligned, if you use tech, these are great events. And most of them are either free or near free. And just check it out. The link will be below in the description. And Polina, our guest, she was part of a DevFest in Seattle. So maybe you can just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about that. And then we're going to jump into talking about HypeHer and all of your initiatives. And you were also a guest on my podcast, Ladders and Leaps, because you had very successfully climbed the corporate ladder. And then you took a big leap into entrepreneurship. And I'm just so excited to talk to you about that. All right. So let me turn it over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Philippa. Thanks for having me. I'm Paulina Ravinsky, and I'm the founder and CEO of HypeHer. I'm also a Women Tech Makers Ambassador, just like you mentioned, and I am a mentor. I am involved with DevFest. So, as you mentioned, I was part of the Seattle DevFest a few weeks ago. I led a really fantastic, it turned out so great. I love doing these things. So it was a women's community breakout, and we did sort of just a lunch where we talked about celebrating each other's achievements and what our goals were for the coming year, and just had some thought-provoking questions that were fun for all of us. And that was such a great experience. I love doing these. And then I am also attending one more. You didn't mention Portland. Portland also has a DevFest coming up next week. That's on the 5th. Is that Wednesday? Or 6th? Sorry, it's on the 6th. And so I will be there as well. And hopefully maybe some of your viewers will join us there. So I'd love to talk to some folks there.
Fantastic. Yeah, I know there's more than a few happening. So I just thought I'm aware of I was aware of LA, you were aware of Portland.
Yeah.
With these. So, just check out the schedule, it'll be in the link, and just see what's coming up. And if not, just make sure you join a local GDG group, and so you get their events all year long, and just look forward to participating in a DevFest next year, because they run these on a cycle. We're going to be kicking off the International Women's Day campaign coming into the new year. So I'll have lots of content based around that. So I'm just really excited. So we're going to jump right in here and let's just talk about HypeHer. You've got a promo video. So let's just pop this up and let's get started here. And then we'll chat more after that.
Yeah.
How cool. I love that. That's amazing.
Thank you so much. This is my first foray into video editing, and it's, prime time for my first attempt.
It takes, I'm still learning. I have a huge learning curve. I get pieces of it, and then, and you have to get a flow, and it takes time, but you did a nice job. And I definitely got the takeaway. I mean, I'm seeing what it is, but let's, hear it in your own words, and then I'll sort of interpret, what I've sort of gleaned from it as well. And I have many use cases that I'm thinking about, and I'm sure you have as well as the founder.
Yeah, absolutely. I think really a key thing is something that we've already mentioned a few times, even before the promo, is community. So this is really about giving to the community and then having them give back to you, sort of creating this positive feedback loop for everyone. And so increased opportunity for everyone, right? So really with that idea of like a rising tide lifts all ships. And that's really what I'm looking for. This is what I was really trying to create, the impact that I want for this community. So um, the use cases really are endless. I mean, what it basically is, if you're, just trying to build your brand, you want to be a speaker, you are creative, you want to sell your whatever products, whatever you're making, you have a small business without a much of a budget for marketing. All of those are just a few, and I really see so many ways that it could grow in the future. And I think really the key is that for if you're in any of those positions that I just mentioned, you always want more eyes on whatever you're creating. You always need more supporters, more followers. And I'm just surrounded, like you, when we join these ambassador meetings, everyone is doing so many exciting things and they all need the eyes. And so for me, it's like we also all have our own networks. Well, what could we do? I could take what you're creating, hype it to my network, or your podcast is an amazing platform for people to spread the word about whatever they're doing. And so when you don't have much of a marketing budget, traditional marketing, advertising, all of that is really expensive. And then building your social media following on your own also takes a lot of time. I mean, it's very effective, but it takes a long time to build. And then also we want to create that sense of solidarity and community. So really those are the three main things that we're trying to address with creating HypeHer. And yeah, I'm super excited about this idea because I think it'll benefit the entire community of women. Um,
I see so much value. First of all, I just think women supporting women is just so important, and we're seeing
yeah.
so many really great communities pop up. I mean, I know in my own experience, it started with Women Tech Maker Ambassadors,
Mhm.
and then more recently, I joined Women Plus in Geospatial because I studied GIS, and to have a very dedicated geospatial community, and I'm part of a peer mentorship group there. And in the Slack, there's like 4,000 women. And so as I'm also doing more interviews on I did GIS Day, and I launched a dedicated channel called Maps Data Design. And I was able to bring in amazing guests that I met from that community. And so it's these communities that allow me to even do my programming. And I think, just even in building the podcast, I had started everything I've done, YouTube, podcasting, I started solo. I just wanted to find my voice. I just wanted to find kind of who would I say. I didn't really know where to get guests, and I didn't know how to share my stage with them in a way that was still kind of a natural extension of me. And then
Mhm.
when I found these communities that were all interested in the same things I was interested in, and then would joyfully join me, and we could have these dynamic conversations, like it solved so much for me. You also kind of remind me of the great couple things. One is like, what is the definition of marketing? And
Mhm.
it's getting people to care.
Yes.
And it's like, I can have all the budget all day long and say, me, and it doesn't like resonate with people as much as if someone else shows that they care about it, and getting that social proof of, I like this and I think this is an idea worth sharing. And I think it's an idea worth sharing that's aligned with my own brand and my own message. And I think my community will resonate with this, which is why I'm joyful to share it.
I'm so excited. I think you brought up a really important point because that's where, one of the values that we listed in the video is around authentic advocacy. And I think that is so much more effective than, like you said, like a canned ad, but having someone, I love how you phrase that too. I even wrote it down. Showing that you care makes other people want to care more as well.
And you and I both, in our own ways, have a Hollywood background. You sort of on the corporate side, and
Yeah.
myself kind of coming up through the agency side. And I will tell you the secret of Hollywood. If you want any agent in Hollywood to call you back, the message that you leave with the assistant is, "Here's who sent me." Who,
Mhm.
that who sent you is how quickly you'll get a call back if they don't know you, they don't know your name, but you always say, I was referred by. And depending on sort of that relationship that agent has, or that the perceived power and you
Mhm.
respect that they have for that person will indicate how quickly that call is returned. And
Mhm.
so there's a sense of who sent you. And I think that that's a really important thing that, again, I am not seeing anything out there like this. I immediately see the value.
Yeah, and I mean, thank you. I think it's true when I speak to others about this, they like you said immediately see the value. I mean, it is still a little bit because this idea honestly is only about 2 months old. I think when I first interviewed with you, I that was before the idea was even born. And so I am still working through like how am I presenting the idea? Is it effective? Are people getting it in very few words? Are they, do they immediately see all the possibilities? And so that's still, I think, a work in progress for many early founders. And you kind of have to work through it and try different approaches and different sets of words and see how it comes across.
Yeah, and I think you've got two groups that I can see, being very early adopters to this, and that have content that has that sort of a little stickiness and kind of a virality to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say one is content creators.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody who's creating any kind of content, podcast, book authors, video, any of those people, I can see being very early adopters. I'm in a Facebook group called Female YouTubers Supporting Each Other. And so, all of them I could see, finding that this would be, because they're all in this community and we share our videos with each other, but to sort of have something that's just a little more structured to where we
Mm-hmm.
can really sort of and get credit for being able to sort of get those videos shared among. So that's just one sort of demographic I see. I'm part of for years, I've been part of a book club in Colorado called Author U, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of independently published authors, many women in the group. The leader of that, she's like, how long can you sell a book for after you write it? She's like, basically, as long as you're committed to marketing it. It's just like the books don't live without marketing. You have to sort of be out there selling your book. And
Yeah.
so I see that's another bloggers, anybody who's sort of in the content creation space. A podcast is significant. You want to get more ears on it, and obviously you want people to at least have a clip of what you're doing, to feel like, oh, I like this and I'm ready to share it. So I think that that's an already audience. And then of course everybody who's in the startup community, who's just starting
Mm-hmm.
with a brand and a business, and is needing to sort of get that early conversion and just build that awareness stage, sort of going moving from, or I guess, that conversion, that sort of awareness stage to the conversion stage, can really
Yeah.
use this. I also see that this is really could be, with enough time into the community, so that you've earned your credits. I think if you have a fundraiser activity or something that's a little bit more time, or you're doing an event or something
Mm-hmm.
that's very specific that you really need attention to, and really need to get the word out quickly, I think, and again, knowing that you've built your credits so you can have that opportunity to sort of be part of that, I can easily see that could be really helpful.
Yeah, I think these are all, yeah, very, I love that just in our short conversation, you've mentioned some of the use cases that I've thought of, but also some that I haven't. And so I think this is, in a way, has a limitless potential. So this is why I'm so very excited about this idea. And I really think it can have a big impact.
Yeah, I can definitely see a lot of that value. So that's amazing. So
Yeah.
how do we all get involved? Like, what's our? I mean, what there's yeah. Where do we start? You're obviously launching this, and also just I'm going to back up real quick before I sort of go there. Is you bring an incredible amount of not only technical experience but corporate experience. I mean, you are a leader, and so this is not just an idea. Like, I have every confidence, with the solid foundation, that you will be bringing that very corporate mindset, that very structured, organized, legal,
Yes.
financially sound kind of structure to this. Um,
Yeah. So yeah, I think I'm glad you brought that up because, more than 20 years of my career was spent in product engineering. So literally all we did was create the software that is a product. And you mentioned that I worked for Disney for many years, and we built everything between everything from like websites to login systems to March Madness. All of these things were things I was a part of. So yeah, so this for me is just part of my DNA at this point, building products. So I mentioned that this idea is about 2 months old, but at the same time, I've already had a team for 6 weeks. So almost that entire time that's been working on building this. And we've made a lot of progress. And one exciting thing that I want to mention about my team too, which is really like very meaningful to me and very aligned with my values. I think I talked to you before that I volunteer for a group called the Ada Developers Academy. And it's a cost-free coding school based here in Seattle, but they do have um, nationwide, digital programs. So they focus on getting women who have had other lives, other careers into tech. And I mentor a number of their students, and some of them right now are really struggling to find work. And so it's been really exciting for me that I've been able to offer work to some of these women who have gone through the program. They have the skills, but no one really wants to take a chance on them. And, I really believe in what they're capable of. And so one of the things that I want also, when this is wildly successful, I want to be able to say, this was built by the junior engineers that so many other companies don't want to take a chance on. And, they're 100% capable. And so I'm really excited. I've got 3 students right now. I'm talking to a 4th one about potentially joining. Well, they're not students anymore, they're alums, but yeah, and they're doing a fantastic job. We're building all on like Google Cloud technology, so another tie-in back to Google. And yeah, so I'm super excited. We're making a lot of progress, and I really hope to get to a point where we're ready to go to beta sometime in February to March timeframe.
Fantastic. But we've got a registration form that will be in the link below, so tell us more like what happens when you sign up on that.
Yeah, so you can go to hypeher.io, and there you'll see the same video we just watched, but also there's a form below where you can add your email and name. And so those folks are going to be the first people invited to join the platform. And so whether it's in a beta, capacity, which by the way, even if it's a beta, you're still getting the benefit that you would in the full membership experience, right? Because you're still going to be putting in your request to be hyped. Others are still going to hype her, and then you'll be providing us with some feedback on what's working and what may need to be tweaked. So yeah, so leaving your name there would be fantastic. We really are, I've been really excited to see, because I do check who's signing up. I've been really excited to see that lots of people I don't know are signing up, which means that this message is resonating with people. It isn't just my mom signing up for this, which though my mom has been very supportive. Yeah, so I think that's something that people can do now, and then as soon as we're ready to invite people into the platform, those will be the first people invited.
So I got just a couple of questions just in terms of the structure of it. So when we're let's talk about, I want to talk about assets. So for example, with the HypeHer, for example, am I asking someone, like if I have a tweet, is like you're retweeting my tweet, or am I giving you, hey, here's the link and here's some assets and here's some things, make it your own, and you do the tweet. Even if you tag me, I will retweet it again, because it helps me from my audience to know that someone else is pitching and promoting this. Do they give me assets that I can create a reel, or do they give me a reel that I can just post on my stories? Like what's that kind of the asset base in terms of what we're doing and how we're doing it?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think, one thing that I also wanted to mention that I have neglected to mention thus far is that this is going to have kind of a gamified feel. So the key is you'll be able to do all these things. It's good for the community, but it'll also be fun. Like we'll have leaderboards, like the top, hypers of the month, or we'll have prizes. We'll have like a challenge. Here's a 3-day challenge. Get all your hypes or whatever. So it's going to be more of a fun experience. But I want to also come directly back to what you were saying. So there is a form that is already built that's for creating a request. And on there, you'll be able to say whatever your parameters are. And I'm definitely excited. Like you're almost giving me, focus group type of feedback now, because that's how you're thinking about what you might create. So what that form will have is just an open text box where you can say, like, what would be most helpful to me is if use the asset at this URL, and here are the hashtags that would be helpful for me to use. These are the platforms I'm on. So I would be, that's what I'm looking for. Like, don't hype me on a platform I'm not on. Or maybe that does make sense to you, right? So you'll be able to outline what your parameters are, what your sort of wish list is for the hype. And then what I plan to do is to have, both best practices and, suggestions for how to really get the maximum value for others and for yourself in how you create these requests and how you create ultimately the hypes on your platform. And I can envision having like even master classes from influencers or folks who have a lot more to say about specifics of what's most effective in a post or another platform's hype.
And actually, I just thought of another use case, which is contests. So, and hackathons, because I just participated in my very first hackathon, which was the Google Immersive Geospatial Challenge. So it's got all my
love
things. It's got
hackathon.
Google. So it was my very first hackathon, and I
So
submitted, and is my note to anybody watching this: if you want to check out the gallery, I'm in the gallery in the sustainability photorealistic tiles. But actually, I'm realizing I'm like, I need to do my own little hype up to remind people to go check it out. And if you like it, I might have a better chance of winning. And I think that, I mean, the judges obviously judge, but they notice if a particular entry has, a lot of likes on it. And so being able to have a hype where you can say something like that, like, hey, it would be super helpful to me if you go check out my hackathon entry, and if you like it, please like it.
Yes, exactly. So it could be as simple as saying, go to this URL and vote for me. It could be as simple as retweet my thing, or it could be really much more complex, like what I was saying before, or what you were suggesting, like use these assets, say this is most consistent with my brand. So really it's so broad that I think it can really apply to.
Yeah. I mean, for example, like promoting a podcast, like that's a long tail. Like I have new episodes every week, and I have a whole sort of show. And so we want to, that's the long tail but there's also like really very specific things that are very time sensitive that, like I said, I think that's part of earning your credit. So when those things come up, you're already sort of front and center to know that you qualify to get that access to that group, because you've done your work to support the group. And I think that, I think the more that we know our own brand and our own promise, like I said, for me, it's been being part of these communities where I'm like, okay, things that are totally aligned with me are going to have to do with women empowerment, women in tech. And, I'm very much in the GIS, geospatial. And then I'm leaning into, and this is a question I have for you, because of your expertise in this sort of working and now seeing both sides of it, seeing corporate world and seeing the independent, startup. Is I have one more year of school. I'm like, do I go back to corporate, or do I, chart out on my own after I graduate? I have a year, and I think actually one thing I've discerned is in some ways it doesn't matter as much as what matters is owning the industry that I want to be in.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I mean, right now, just bit of the space I'm in, and like I said, I spent more than 20 years in corporate, and I've had amazing experience, have met amazing people, learned so much, And at the same time, right now, I'm in that place where I just feel like all of us have so much to create in this world. So I am not someone who's, well, whatever success means to you obviously is very individual, but I'm not someone who's right now feeling like I would want my creativity and all my energy to be harnessed towards a cause that is 100% mine. And I do think that one of the things that HypeHer offers is that it gives new opportunities to women who do want to do something really different and new. Yes, it's also really helpful if you're in the corporate world. There's a lot of use cases like that we've already mentioned, but I think this is also kind of a push towards potentially even creating this new economy for women, because we see that like women aren't getting funded, women aren't getting featured on LinkedIn, our voices are just constantly being kind of undermined and deprioritized. And I just think that I'm after all these years, I'm a little bit tired of trying to change that from within the system. So my idea is around like, let's just fine, you're going to put obstacles in our way, we're going to create our own economy here. And that's how lofty my vision around this is.
I agree. So I have done now more than a few dozen of interviews across International Women's Day and on the podcast and now here on YouTube. And I'm seeing a common theme, which is I think women have worked really hard to sit at a table we did not build.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I'm realizing like I'm in a caregiving role, sort of. I actually, no, I'm not a caregiver. Let me be very clear about that. I am a caretaker. I get to enjoy the company of my parents and I take lots of care. They're wonderful. But I look out for them and they look out for me. And I'm in this wonderful, they're alive and they're well. And I get to spend time with them. And that's something that that's the number one reason I question, do I want to go back to a corporate role, is because I'm like, I'm having just such a good time working from home, even though I sort of bounce back on two coasts and I have my friends in the middle from where I was living before, pandemic transitions. And and that lifestyle and that freedom and that flexibility, I work very hard. I'm working on a second master's degree. I got 2 certificates. I have a million activities. I get on with my life. I get to do everything and be everywhere I want to be, go to the conferences I want to go to. And so having like that get in the lines, I question, like, will I actually succeed in that? And is that, and then and a lot of these jobs will move me to a whole nother physical geographic location, not close to anybody. And perhaps if my parents weren't here, then I'd be like, oh, I'm up for a new adventure, but they are, and I want to enjoy my time with them. So it's like, I think my compromise is I'm applying for summer internships because I don't graduate till December, just to kind of get on the inside. And it's very structured. It's like 10, 12 weeks. And you go in and you can sort of see what's going on from the inside. And I think my greatest fantasy is that I could actually be in an industry and support an industry as an independent person and have these really good relationships with the agencies and have an opportunity to say, oh yeah, well, I had that internship, so I got that credibility. And part of that is actually would also expedite a security clearance for me. And that gives you a whole other, that's actually part of opportunity. And then I'm studying like human security, disaster management. I could easily see myself going to a project. And even FEMA has like a reservist program where they'll call you to emergency. Like I said, my parents are independent living. I just check in, so if I was to called onto a scene where I could go do GIS work, like that would, and then create content the rest of the time, I think that would be my ideal scene. And I think the reservist actually comes with health insurance, which is one of the things that I think about because, and so anyways, that's sort of like, but I definitely see a through line of like, I want to create, no matter what I do, I want to create content.
Yeah.
It's just such at the heart of me.
Yeah. And I can see that. I mean, that's the only capacity I've known you in, but I can absolutely see how huge that is. And I think, I do want to recognize I kind of, went on my soapbox a little bit because that's where I am now. But yeah, would I have the credibility? Would I have the stability? Would I have, the connections, all of these things that are enabling me to do what I do now without my corporate career? I mean, the answer is no. So that's definitely been a very big part of my life. And like I said, it's enabled me to get the skills, the connections, the financial capabilities for me to be able to be turning to this right now. I'm focusing on this.
Yeah. And so I think that there's that balance. I think, I mean, and that's a kind of was my own Hollywood story. Like I worked at a ICM, which has now been absorbed by CAA. Like I had, which is an incredible credential. And I was there for a couple of years and I really understood Hollywood from like the inside out. And, when you work at a studio, you really learn things that you wouldn't learn otherwise.
Mhm.
And in Hollywood, there's definitely two classes of people, the insiders and the outsiders. And when you work, again, agency studio, you're an insider. You learn all of the
Yeah,
things, and when you show up at an event and you say I work for Disney or I say I work for an ICM, like you're in. Like you,
yeah, yeah.
and you're
It's
not
very true.
you're not a wannabe. You're in.
Mhm.
You're
Mhm.
credentialed. And I think that, and then I went independent, and then I had my own company for years. But I knew everybody already. I knew the culture, I knew the etiquette, I knew what it took to get things done and how to make a living, and how to
Yeah,
help other people and facilitate their work. And so with that,
no. I think
yeah, I was gonna, with
Sorry,
that, I'm able.
I
Um,
was just gonna say that I do think that, those that is a great way to be able to get into an independent role, is having that background. And also, I'm just so inspired by so many people out there who are, again, are just making their own path, right? Like building something organic without any structured corporate funded support. And so I also know that it's possible. And I mean, I want HypeHer to be something that's helps all of those people. To me, it's everyone. I see every woman obtaining more economic power and more flexibility, more a career that's more aligned with their passions and their values. That every single one of them is a win, I think, for all of us. And so that's really what I'm about.
yeah. Although I think what I'm hearing, and I'm sort of internalizing, is I do think that there's a wind, and it's the same thing what happened when I finished my undergrad. There's a window in time where you're just super recruitable when you're just fresh out of school. And
Mhm.
because sometimes I find recruiters are not always as friendly to people who are a little too independent minded. And sometimes when you're sort of like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur, they're like, why are you here? Did your business fail? Or are you going to just scoot out the door at like the first opportunity? Like, so I think there's something where I do think they like employees that are here to be an employee.
And I mean, I think part of that is that what happens, this is what has kind of led me to walk away from a lot of the corporate, is that what happens is that, these are self-reinforcing systems, right? They're invested in doing things the way it's always been done, right? So to me, in software engineering, having this constant, the number of times that I was told that my job descriptions for my team had to include computer science degree on there, it's like, why? I mean, there's no, it's this idea of like, well, this is how we've always done it and this is required. But when you really dig in, I don't have a computer science degree, and I became director of software engineering in a very high profile company. Really, is it necessary? It's not necessary. So I think same thing, like when you say like, oh, they want somebody who's just been this employee. Well, it's like, well, I mean, why? It's, most employees don't stay more than a couple of years anyway. So if someone is an entrepreneur but now they're trying to build something within a corporate context, and you think maybe they'll only stay a few years, like that's no different than most people you're going to hire today.
Yeah. Anyway, so I actually kind of am feeling that maybe there is a kind of go ahead and swing for the fences with a position that I may not stay very long, but at least I can have that
Mhm.
experience and that credit, or maybe I stay long, maybe it works. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I think for me, I always feel like knowing the entrepreneur side of me is like, I'll always land on my feet. I'll always figure
Yeah.
out what's next. Like I'll always, that doesn't scare me to sort of, but,
I'm
I think,
excited for you. I think that's really cool. And, I hope, like, if you were to find something that has, what do they say? The Venn diagram of what you're good at, what you want to do, and what you can get paid to do, and where you can create impact, like that's the sweet spot. And if you can find all that, maybe you'll find the best internship ever. I hope that for you. I really do.
well, I think this is, and I'll bring this back to HypeHer, but I think a lot of it too is we have to really be careful about our own mindset, and
Mhm.
how we sometimes only see what we want to see.
Mhm.
For example, I've been I've been raising my hand for a lot of things, like more things than I can possibly do, but I do them, and then and with tech, everything that I'm raising my hand for, I am getting, which is amazing. Like I'm
Right.
so, if I raise my hand for it, I'm getting it. And like, so the other part of my interest is like climate impact, emergency management, the intelligence community. I'm particularly interested in geo and AI, and like the application of technologies in national security issues. And that, the idea that a lot of the intelligence community hit, like after the winter storm of 2022, has said, hey, extreme weather is a national security issue. And so
Mm.
all of those things are kind of in, and similarly, like what you were saying with like, we're getting a lot of programming, which I love. Like I am learning tech and programming as quickly as I can. I'm actually just finishing out a micro grant that I got to become a certified Cesium developer. So I'm doing all these like really cool sort of 3D tiling projects. That was part of the submission I made in my first hackathon for the Google Immersive Challenge. And I'm doing a sort of sustainability analysis of the Port of Long Beach. Another project I did because I have a master's in urban planning was like a three. And we kind of had to imagine for a project management, geospatial project management class, a project, and mine was a proposal for digital twins for the port of New York, New Jersey, related to land use and aligned with their master plan 2050. So those are like other things that I'm interested in. So all of these, but I was feeling like I was raising my hand. I'd gotten into an ICCA scholarship, which is actually what brought me into the intelligence community. Otherwise I would have never even like thought that was a thing that I could do. And then, and that's sponsored by this intelligence community. And so then I started raising my hand for other things, and I applied for a lot of internships last summer, and I didn't get any of them, but they were so aspirational because I was like just starting to learn the things that they wanted. So I was like, okay, I'm not should be. And then I applied again this year, but I was now starting to like self doubt myself, and
Mhm.
I'd applied super early to one and with a recommendation, and I didn't hear back, and I was just like, I was kind of bummed about it. And then I think something. Oh, and then I got an email saying we'd invited you to take the next step in the process, but we didn't hear back from you. So we really would like you to reapply, but you have to start over. You have to start. And I was like, I looked it up, and I was like, oh, that was the day my mom was in the hospital getting surgery. No wonder I missed that email. And
Yeah.
then the deadline was yesterday. So I did the whole thing like immediately. They sent me a little HypeHer interview, the video interview thing they do now. And then I got a confirmation, like you're good. We got that. And they said, you'll hear from us. We'll make our decisions November 30th. So yesterday I'm like, oh, I didn't get it. Okay. And then I was like, well, maybe I missed an email. I'll just search. And then I found an email that apparently I didn't see that said, hey, you know what? You're moving forward in the process. We're actually not going to let you know until December 29th. And I was like, oh, okay. But I realized like if I didn't, like sometimes like if I was more like proactive to say, I'm going to get this, I'd look it up and like I'd be tracking it. But sometimes like you psych yourself out and you're like, oh, I'm not going to get it. So you don't even look for it or you don't even apply.
Right. Yeah. I'm actually waiting to hear about this grant that I applied for, which I don't know. A lot of grants seem to be focused more on businesses that are in the growth stage rather than where we are now. But, I'm still crossing my fingers because I do think that it's geared towards women-owned businesses. So yeah, so hopefully I'll hear about that in the next couple of weeks. Like you, I'm going to start searching through my email, but yeah, I mean, I think, well, this brings me to one of my big topics. Like, marketing is how do I build my first user base is a big topic. But I think also funding is a topic. Right now, I'm mostly self funding the development team. So, I mean, everything else I'm doing pretty much on a shoestring budget. But the team, I am paying the team. And so, I've started a crowdfunding campaign that is about 20% funded so far. So yes, if any of the listeners want to help us bring this vision to life, I would love that support. But that's something that we're also working on and
So we
hoping. Yeah.
do we get gamification credit for hyping the crowdfunding campaign?
Awesome. Yes, you do. Yes, we'll find a way to make that work. But but most of these campaigns, including mine, have they have rewards. So
Yeah.
one of the rewards is that you can get a membership, an advanced membership, or you can sponsor someone else to have a membership if you aren't maybe the target demographic but know someone who is. And there's also an ability for male allies to sponsor a woman to be able to be a member and receive like a badge on their LinkedIn. So there's a lot of like cool rewards that we've worked out, in addition to the usual t-shirt and socks rewards. But so yeah, so I would really love any kind of support. I think people are thinking like we're looking for thousands of dollars, and of course we don't say no to that, but even like a $25 donation, or buying a sponsorship for someone else would be a huge help. And again, like 100% of that goes directly to my team and their new software engineers who are just trying to get started in their career and build their portfolio and build this product for all of us. So none of this money goes to anything else. Not it doesn't go to me or to even operational costs. It goes directly to the team.
I love that. Well, I'll definitely be buying a sponsorship. I mean, because I mean,
Fantastic.
the membership, because this is like so aligned. Like I have things to promote and I love promoting people. So
Yes.
that's all really good. And
And
then
yeah, I love you
actually,
said, oh, sorry.
oh,
I love that you said that, you might, in your scenario, you can see like a weekly wanting to promote something, your latest episode. And so just I think this creates like a real glimpse into how this is going to run itself. So right now we haven't finalized this, but right now the thought is that you would hype 10 in order to get credit for your request. You would hype 10 others first. And so that means someone like you who wants something to be promoted weekly would be hyping 10 other people's initiatives every week. And so to me, that it really kind of codifies this whole idea of the community is first. You're building the community, but you're getting your piece too, right? It's really is a win-win.
I see that. Also, I ran my first contest, and the first one was sponsored through. So I did. So I just launched a channel called Maps Data Design. So again, just like fully in the spatial data science conversation, and it was I tied it to an official Esri event. Esri is kind of the software that we use for making maps, and they had GIS Day on November 15th, and so I called it. I created my forum, called out for people to join me for the sort of kickoff interviews, and had a bunch of great people join me. And then Esri sent me an email and they said, because you're hosting an official GIS day, we're going to give you 5 personal licenses that you can give out to people. And so it was great. So I ran my first contest and I said, hey, just please fill out the form, and including sort of what were some of your takeaways from some of the videos that we were part of this launch, and what would you like to see on this channel, and just helping me get some feedback. And so I could totally also see buying some of these memberships, or making we'll work something out that I can basically give away some of these in part of a promotion, because I asked for things like, please subscribe to my channel, and then enter to win. Tell me, like, what would one of the takeaways was, or questions was, sort of where will you be a year from now if you get this license. And also there's a
I love
ton of free, in this case there's a ton of like what they call the MOOCs, the massive online open courses, and you get access to the software like for the 6 weeks of the course. And if someone was a beginner, I actually didn't want to give it to them, because I was like, go to a MOOC. Like, having your own personal license, if you have never touched the software before, like someone asked me in an interview I had done, they're like, did you cry when you were learning the software? And I was like, yes, I did. Like, it is not a beginner friendly. But a number of the people who applied had actually used it before, just were either back at school in a different department, that they're like, hey, I just don't get it in my department, or I'm working independently right now and it would be super helpful. So I was just so joyful to be able to give away those 5 licenses. It made a big difference.
awesome.
And it really just, helped me hype my own channel
Yeah.
collectively.
Yeah, I do
So
think there's a lot of these kinds of, you know, uh, yes, mutual win opportunities out there for us as well.
So I love that. So yes, consider me in the HypeHer community. I'm really excited to be part of it.
Love it. Thank you.
And
Thank you. And yeah, like spread the word. We definitely, again, I just see so many benefits for so many. It's just a matter of getting the word out. And
well, I have another request for you. So as I launch into, I have a couple different channels, and I have one like Muse and Metrics is where I just right now it's just my audio replays because the initial ones air on 360 Talk Radio for women. But I would actually like to start playing with, I call it pseudo because there's no financial relationship to it. It's just more like social. But I'd like to start bringing the concept of sponsored by, and then I have like social. So I'm going to call them social sponsors, not financial sponsors. That that for like my International Women's Day campaign and videos and content, I can start the process. So when I in the future have financial, I can show them what it looks like and where it fits, and that I can learn what it looks like to build a relationship with a sponsor and bring them value. And so I would love to have HypeHer be one of our social sponsors for the International Women's Day campaign.
Yeah, I would love that. And by the way, I know we'll be talking about this more since the WTM ambassadors is just rolling out the International Women's Day stuff. But I'll definitely be doing an event here in Seattle, and I'm hoping that it'll coincide with our readiness to launch. So it'll be both. I already have. I can't mention it yet, but I already have this amazing speaker lined up, like a real keynote speaker for the event. And so I'm really excited. So we'll talk more about International Women's Day, and hopefully that'll be the time when I'll be launching HypeHer. But also we would love to sponsor, your series or however that ends up working. So let's keep talking about that. I would very much be interested in that.
Awesome. Oh, I'm so much fun. Well, so let's just, as we wrap this up, I see, like I said, I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited to see how these ideas develop. I know you know how to product design software and now lead a team. And I love that you're giving people an opportunity to really sort of cut their teeth on it. Because like I said, even for me, like my dad has done technology and computer programming for years. And he's like, you're in kindergarten as a programmer. And I was like, yes, I am. But I am loving learning it. And I just I feel like the more I learn it, the better my conversation. Well, first of all, I love creating things. So whether I'm creating video, audio, or a website, or an app or a product, like it's all creation to me. And
exactly,
it's just another set of tools in my toolkit that I can do stuff. And I am very much interested in being like a GIS developer and then being able to apply AI machine learning. I did try to launch when I was doing the challenge, the hackathon, I did try to see if I could bring a website live on Google Cloud, and I realized I'm not there yet. So I'm going to have to be doing the Google Skill Boost training to like actually get it all to work. I realized that there's a learning curve there. So I actually just like a quick, simple, I just put it on like GitHub pages, and I was like, okay, my website is live.
So well, I'm really excited that I feel, that even though my team, they're new, but having a successful product be in their portfolio that's going to do a lot for their career. So I'm really, that's also my hope, to create that opportunity.
I think when you talk about like do you have a computer science degree or not? I fall between chairs because there's a fair amount of computer science in our GIS program, but my degree doesn't say computer science, or from this computer, it says from the Spatial Science Institute. So I sometimes feel like I fall between chairs, and I know my portfolio is going to be really, really important.
Be key. Yeah, exactly.
And also feel like my portfolio is important to actually getting the job that I want and that's right for me. For me to say, and this is who I am, and this is what I'm excited about, and this is what the work that I'm like really putting my research into, so that I can, get those jobs that allow me to continue these things. So it's, I'm very excited about next year because I feel like it's going to be a very big growth year.
Yeah. I'm excited about next year too. And I think I do have a team meeting here in just like a couple
I'm going to let you go. And I appreciate your time here today. Just so as we wrap it up, I'm just going to say check out DevFest and go to one near you. This season, next season, join your local GDG.
Portland. We can say
Yeah,
hello.
you've got Portland's coming up, Los Angeles is coming up. And also check out the link below, HypeHer. Go ahead and register your interest to get on board with this. I'm super excited to be part of it because I just
Thank you.
Again, it gives me more content to share. I mean, of all these cool things that other people are up to.
I love it. Thank you
So
so
that
much.
is awesome. So great to connect with you today. Go meet your team and continue building this good work. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We will see you next time.
Thank you so much.